G'day and welcome to Reliability Hero, where we talk with maintenance and reliability people. Few things excite them more than making machines and equipment do more than they were ever designed to do. Faster, safer, longer, and more reliably. Whether you take minerals out of the ground, keep power plants running, or fix and maintain rail networks, aeroplanes, conveyor belts, or turbines, we acknowledge you for keeping economies moving. I'm Andrew Daddo, and this podcast is brought to you by the mainstream community. One of the main themes at Mainstream for 2024, in fact for the last few years, has been that around mental health. So Dan Allen and Ed Ross are keynote speakers on the final day, and they're the co-founders of Trademutt and TIAX. Is that right? TIAX, I want to say TIAX. I want to say TIAX. Okay, I'm not going to spell it. Okay,
no, that's right.
Dan and Ed, good to have you with us. Tell us about your story, because it's a fashion story as well as a mental health story, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a story of a roller coaster ride is what it is, mate. So
okay.
Yeah, so myself and Ed are the co-founders of both Trademutt and TIAX, as you said. But our story began on site. There's a couple of tradies in Brisbane. Myself, originally from Sydney, Ed, originally from Longreach. Wouldn't have been too many reasons why a couple of blokes like us would have met and become mates, but as chance would have it, we started working for a builder on the same day as each other at a job site in a suburb of Brisbane. I was a couple of years.
So what sort of building?
Well, carpentry is our trade, and residential carpentry.
Okay.
A lot of renos, a couple of new builds, a lot of raises and build unders. In twisted old Queenslanders, houses much like the people.
Yeah. Okay, here we go.
Sorry, mate. But yeah, we met on site. Little spark was lit that day, little flame, little romance.
Right.
Yeah, myself and Ed used to talk about a whole lot of ideas, as you talk a bit of nonsense on site when you're working together.
Yeah.
Like any good workplace.
And was this so you'd done your apprenticeship?
I was a couple of years out of my trade.
Yeah.
Ed was just starting out as a
mature age apprenticeship.
Mature age apprenticeship, yeah.
Okay. So can I just ask, just in terms of, is hazing or was hazing still a thing for apprentices? And it is,
I don't think so.
No, okay, good.
I think you just get dealt with shit jobs, but it's not like a hazing thing where it's like...
Well, I mean, there was the one time when you were in the Portaloo and
Yeah, that's not hazing, that's just...
that was
that's
chance would have it. He was
in
the Portaloo taking his sweet-ass time, so I smacked on the side of it with a square-mouth shovel and blew the soap off the...
Yeah, the soap dispensers, it just exploded off. And I'm
but I wasn't intentionally trying to... trying to wash him.
Oh, no, it's just because I was actually just trying to extrapolate forward into it. So there's a mental health question here, and so... I'm trying to imagine a thing that you guys were just, young and new and people made it hard for. So no, not that at all.
Really like
Some
that,
people say hazing.
Okay, good.
Like as an apprentice or as any young, person or a newcomer to a job, you've got to do the lower level jobs.
But that's part of learning the craft,
You
right?
start at the bottom.
Yep.
And so I think with that culture, you might sort of think that you're getting thrown all the shit jobs or something like that, but it's you got to work your way up, right?
Yeah, and you got to learn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Right. Okay. So you're working together.
Yeah.
You made him almost eat it.
A bucket of soap.
Sorry for bringing that up, Ed.
No,
sorry.
It's all right. I'm still
and we talk a whole lot of nonsense, as I said. And one of the things that we used to talk about, aside from what we got up to on the weekends or what we'd like to do, when you finish your trade, was why the bloody hell has no one thought to change high-vis workwear? Why are we still wearing the same high-vis orange and yellow navy bottom work shirts to work, the same shirts they've been wearing since they built the bloody pyramids? Which is just a question we asked. We had no intention of getting into tradie fashion.
Yeah. So there was a time before high-vis where it was just singlets and stubbies.
Yeah, there was
or t-shirts and stubbies.
A life before that.
Yeah, and then so high-vis was a huge change, and it wasn't that long. Well, maybe I'm old, but it wasn't that long ago. So it's interesting that you're saying, why is it still the same thing when, as far as I'm concerned, it's an incredibly different thing.
And they obviously weren't wearing high-vis when they built the pyramids as well. That's just
it's just a good story.
I love it.
It plays in.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, it was just a conversation we had. And then I suppose for us, our story comes back to a personal experience for myself of losing one of my best mates to suicide in 2015, which was my first experience of suicide.
Okay.
and it was a life-changing experience for myself, and went through that whole process of grief and loss, questioning, and anger, feeling pissed off, all those things. But following that, myself and Ed was probably my number one support network at the time, because we were working for our builder together 5 days a week, sort of 8-9 hours a day, and then we were knocking off and doing cash jobs of a night time and on the weekend. So we were just cashies, bloody oath. And so, Ed was probably my number one support network in that time, and which was hard for an apprentice, because I was the one supposed to be looking after him.
Yeah.
Technically.
Okay.
And then he's the one there looking after me when I'm getting out of the ute with tears in my eyes.
Yeah.
Not knowing what to say or what to do, or, how to help fix me, but, certainly provide a good space for me to express where I was at.
Is that part of the healing process, to actually be there and provide a space and someone to actually just listen and not...
It's just to sit in the hole with them, I suppose. It's like, I didn't have the answers. You still don't kind of have the answers in those sorts of situations. You just got to kind of, be there and just, like Dan said, give space and just sort of try and show as much empathy and compassion, which is things we often talk about, to the situation, because it's what else can you do? You're kind of helpless, right? It's just Is there a I know it's not official, but is there a time limit on empathy? So we sort of go, okay, listen,
enough,
mate,
let's get on with it.
You've had
no, it's interesting. Yeah,
I mean that respectfully, because there is a point. Well, there must be a point where it's sort of listen, really, you really must move along.
I think from my experience, well, that's
as a friend as well.
Yeah.
Well, that wasn't this situation though. It was quite a natural. I suppose you never get over it, right? But it's there was a natural initial grieving period that took place that I saw with Dan, and then it was okay, let's actually do something about this now.
Yeah.
And that was kind of I think that probably helped with the grieving process, to be honest. It was this is a positive change we're going to make to this space. So it wasn't a long period of time where Dan wasn't himself. That's for sure. I don't remember.
But also, I think being in the space as well, it's it appears that any traumatic event that anyone goes through, regardless of exactly what it is almost a lifelong healing process in a lot of instances, and that's just a time thing, right? So, and you go through the motions of it all. So, and then what that looks like for each individual, I think, is very, very different.
So this has obviously happened after the question of how do we change high-vis fashion? Yeah,
so we met on site in 2014. I lost my mate, whose name was also Dan, on the 6th of December 2015. It was post that conversation. Yeah. And
then you somehow put the two together and went...
Yeah, well,
is it a tribute? As well?
Yeah, there are some feet. YNWA, You'll Never Walk Alone, is a tribute for Dan. He was a diehard Liverpool Football Club supporter, so you cross that. So, You'll Never Walk Alone, they sing that song to their home team before every game. Doesn't matter what code you follow, what team you follow, that'll get the hairs on the back of your neck standing up. So, a bit of a tribute to him on the YNWA, but also a positive message for anyone wearing our shirts, that we're trying to create a community and camaraderie in which you'll never walk alone.
Okay, what was the process of actually putting the fashion together, and how did you decide?
Just meeting lots of people and asking lots of questions, and
started with a packet of pencils.
Yeah. Did you do the designs?
Yeah. We mocked the designs up. They looked pretty red hot when we first started.
Yeah.
And then we just, we're chatting to people, and we learned about this business model of social enterprise and profit for purpose, and we basically realised that, we could start a business and actually make social change at the same time, and that's kind of what we went with. So, ordered 1,500 work shirts and put them online, and worst case scenario was that, we'd spend every last dollar, but we'd have work shirts the rest of our lives from extra small to 3XL.
Yeah.
And that was the worst case, and we were kind of we'll just end up back on the tools and do a few more cashes, and we'll be back where we were.
You dropped the trades at that point?
Well, no, we were still working for our builder at that time. And it just started to gain momentum really quickly. And then we went over to China to check on our first shipment, and it was all good, and came back. And then I quit pretty quickly, and then Dan followed suit a month or two later, and then pretty much full-time. It must have been I don't know, June, July or something like that, 2018. We're full-time and have been sort of ever since, So it's wild.
Okay, so with the design, the original designs, I mean, so now how would you best describe? I'm not sure how
We say loud, funky, eye-catching prints that are quite unique. Well, they are completely unique because we make them all ourselves in house.
The burst of colour is, and the whole concept is designed to be the opposite to what we were seeing in the mental health space, which was a lot of dark and gloomy and depressing advertising.
Just uninviting.
Yeah, unapproachable, bus stop shelters with dimly lit rooms and men with their head in their hands trying to personify depression. And we kind of thought, well, that's not what it looks like. And if it did, why would you want to identify with it? So we kind of wanted to flip the script and go, well, let's try and make it fun, exciting, colourful, approachable, relatable. See if that works to get people opening up. So the prints are bloody funky. Try to describe this.
We kind of hated the word funky from the get-go, but we haven't come up with a better one.
Okay.
It's just, that's what they are.
We
just embrace it. They're funky.
I was interested to see where you were going to go with that, because we get people who come to us and say, oh, I love that, that one design you did. It's got the yellow and the blue and that, and we're like,
You're like, mate,
like
we've done 60 of them. They're all.
Is it much different to how it was at the beginning?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. Our designs have come a long way.
A hell of a long way.
Yeah.
Just because of, our dedication to sort of improving and trying to make it as best as we can. And at the beginning, it was like, well, this is the best we could do it with what we knew at that time. But it's it's definitely more Dan's side of the business, the design element. But basically, not upskilling, but improving that process so that we're delivering something that isn't just making a social change, but also looks red hot. Is basically the, you know what I mean?
Look at you guys.
Is the two things we need to balance. It needs to be commercially viable and something wants to buy, right?
Yeah, what people want to actually wear. To then sell the message. I think it's really interesting what you're saying. I've never thought about depression that way, as the lonely bloke in the bus shelter in the dark, and that is actually the personification, and still probably 90% of the personification of that's what depression looks like. So what was the realisation for you, both of you, to go, we can actually change the way it looks? See, when you said fun, I instantly went, what's the fun? There's nothing fun about that. But then when you explained it, it was like, well, that's really clever.
Well, I mean, I think the one thing that we've come to, because we've been on this hyper-learning journey, about mental health. It started as an idea to use a work shirt to start a conversation. We still knew nothing about, the
really anything.
Yeah, any of it, yeah. And
we just wanted to try and do something. Yeah,
okay.
And just rolled on.
So then, do you just to interrupt? Do you need to know something?
Well, no.
To begin a change?
Yeah, no, you don't. And this is the thing, and it's like, to the bus stop shelter question and to the fun part about mental health. Mental health is a spectrum. Mental health we all have. We ride that spectrum on a daily basis, and situational mental health challenges is something that most of us face every day. By that I mean things like relationship stresses and financial stresses and work and identity and substance abuse, all these kinds of things that we all sort of face. Everyone does. Everyone knows what that's like. Everyone also does a pretty good job putting a game face on. That's not what you see on the bus stop shelters. You see people without their game face on.
Right.
And then every conversation that we have where someone, has done the unthinkable and, taken their own life, it's always, didn't see it coming. Life of the party. Happy-go-lucky. Rah-rah. So everyone's got this game face on, which is good. We need to put a game face on to get through life. But we wanted to try to, embrace a bit of vulnerability and allow people to drop that game face, when they can.
So vulnerability versus... the game face, or what would be the other word for...
the facade, I guess, that everything's okay, or that, that we're not dealing with a lot of these situational stresses and mental health challenges that so many people deal with. And there's obviously a fairly clear delineation between, well, not obviously, but severe mental illness and mental health, the vast majority of the population deals with on a daily basis, right? So it's important to probably talk about that.
In the fluoro strip on the back of the shirt, so I saw you yesterday, you had an orange shirt on, the colours on the collar, and then the bottom half of the sleeves and the bottom body of the shirt, and this shirt is a conversation starter.
Yeah, this is a conversation starter.
Yeah, so this is a conversation starter, not shirt. And I was standing behind you, and I went, "Oh, that's pretty clever." You know, so was that there from the
get-go?
From the get-go, yeah.
Clever. And so, what was the reaction to it?
Well,
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say mixed is the right word. Like, we just got blown off the park to begin with. Like, we were just getting smashed. And we kind of didn't realise what we'd sort of set in motion, and probably still coming to terms, like, probably haven't ever come to terms with, like, what we've set in motion, because everyone's like, oh, is this what you planned? As in, like, well, look where you are, look what you're doing. And it's like, well, fuck, none of it was planned. You know, like, this was just an idea that's just sort of, like, ballooned, and then, you know, we often talk about, it's like, the next problem or opportunity that we saw to, like, improve it, well, we just either solved or took, and it's just sort of, mushroom, like, exploded. Like, the ball's just rolled along so far now that,
All right, so where are you now?
Well, we've got, trademark, so it's, well, it'd be the biggest, it's like, the most notable social enterprise workwear brand in the country. You know, we're working with, you know, people like Bunnings and Bosch and, you know, CPB and some of Australia's largest contractors, and Funky Shirt Friday is kind of a activation that happens every week with our community, and people wear shirts and start conversations, which is awesome. And then 50% of our profits go into TAX, which is the free text and call counselling service that we started in June 2020, and that was kind of the second part of what we were doing, because we realised that people didn't know where to go for the next conversation. So there were peer-to-peer conversations happening with the shirts, but then people were asking us, where do I go next? Or who can I reach out to because I'm worried about someone? And the private sector mental health, you know, service, which is, you know, going and seeing a GP, getting on a mental health plan, finding a psychologist, counsellor, social worker, XYZ, just so many barriers to entry. Yeah. And we felt that we could remove those barriers and just make it as easy as possible for someone to reach out for early intervention mental health support and counselling, and that's what we did. So, free text and call Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 10 p.m, and people can speak to the same counsellor through their journey. So it's like, you book in, we'll give you a call at the time we locked in, and like I said, you speak to that same counsellor for those sessions. And on average, four sessions per client, 75% callers are male, helped over 19,000 blue-collar workers, and just continuing to grow.
It's pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Not bad numbers.
And that wasn't part of the plan to begin with either. Like this, it was just shirts, and then it was like that was the next kind of problem, right?
Yeah, you don't learn how to establish and run a mental health counselling service doing your Certificate 3 of carpentry joinery at TAFE, New South Wales. That's for sure.
Right.
Or I must have missed that. We might have missed that class.
Yeah.
That wasn't there. Yeah.
All right. How resilient have you had to be in the making of the business, while sort of, you know, pushing resilience and the search for help? How resilient have you had to be with what's gone well and what has not gone well?
How much time have we got on this podcast, on this recording? Because it's a very complex, very ironic situation to find yourself in when you're in the business of mental health, and also in business, just in general. Yeah. And mental health advocacy is very different to being in the business of mental health, because we are working our asses off to establish a commercially viable operation that can not only do what we want to do with the shirts on site and bring down cultural barriers, but also fund a very expensive, healthcare service. Yeah. So, and we've got our own stuff going on. We've got family dramas, and we have, personal dramas, and, our little marriage at times has been, had its own little stresses involved in it as well. So you're balancing a lot of relationships. You can feel like the weight of the world's on your shoulders, and then you get up on stage and you continue to, advocate for the message. But the best thing that, that we've been able to do, and this is one of the biggest key parts of the whole thing that we're trying to break down, is this idea that people are talking about needing to talk about mental health, but they're not actually talking about their own mental health.
Sorry, say that again. Just that
people are talking about needing to talk about mental health.
They're talking about the need to talk about mental
health without actually talking about mental health themselves.
Do you think part of the problem then is that when people talk about the need to talk about mental health, they think they're talking about mental health?
Exactly. They think
and they go,
they've actually said nothing.
Yeah, but is that not one of our protective mechanisms? And certainly as men, to go, talked about it.
Yeah, and it's
bloody raised it.
And they're trying to make kind of saying anything.
And they're trying to make it okay for people to talk by saying, we've got to talk about this. And what we've come to learn is that the only mental health experience that anyone can talk about is their own. And that's about talking about the challenges in our own experiences of mental health, or our own help-seeking behaviours, or our own journeys of being on mental health care plans and seeing our own psychologists to help manage the stress of business and life whilst promoting the exact same thing to the community. I mean, we've got a team of 10 counsellors, I think, now, who we can't use because they work for us. But everyone else can use them.
Right.
So we've so we really take it upon ourselves to be, to tell audiences and crowds or get the message across is that, yep, we're doing this thing, but we also have our own struggles. And this is, what
just because
we've
we're in
been
it doesn't
through,
mean we're immune to it,
Yeah, of course. I mean, no one's immune to it.
I know. But I think it comes with the, like kind of the idea, it's like, oh, well, you guys are in it, so you guys should be sweet. You know what I mean? Like, you guys should have all the answers.
Let's talk about it all the time.
Yeah,
you
got it
blokes?
all sorted. It's like, mate, far from it.
Okay.
So,
What about the business, the business of mental health? Because it is a business, and it can be seen as a business where you can, fall quite deeply into it. And as you're saying, people talking about it but not doing anything about it. Have you found that a difficult sort of road to traverse?
Well, for us, we're just kind of running our own race to a degree, because we're just trying to set the example, or set like the social norm for individuals and businesses to look at mental health differently, where it's not like certain people within organisations are support workers and you can go and chat to them. It's like everyone has got a story. Everyone, like Dan was saying, has got stresses, a life. We've got to share things that are going on. And the more vulnerable we can be individually and create more peer-to-peer connections at work, at home, even just connections with your friends and family, the better it's going to be. And then talking about seeking help and how beneficial it's been for people. Okay. So that's what's like kind of the circle. It's like, yep, I've got struggles. Don't know how to deal with it. Go and use this. Use it, great. Tell everyone how good it was, and then kind of get that momentum going. So, yeah, for Dan and I, we always talk about, seeing our own psychologist and how beneficial that's been. And then, even just conversations that I have, with my mates, and then they're like, oh, that's interesting. Yeah, okay, well, and then they go and do something, and they're like, oh, yeah, that was really good. And then they tell a couple of mates, and then it rolls on. So that's kind of the changes we're trying to make.
Yeah. Do you see
culturally?
Do you see a yoga line of clothing?
Yoga?
No, only because I was talking to a guy and his answer.
From Mount Isa?
Shane?
Shane, right? Shane Butler.
Weapon.
Yeah, he had that bloody Canadian tuxedo on last night.
Double denim.
Looked great.
Right.
Red card.
So red card. You're off.
Yeah.
It's not triple denim. But it was interesting. So I had a great chat to him, and he was saying that he tried the psychologist and therapy, but for him it was yoga. So maybe there's a yoga line in there for you guys as well.
Well, that's a good...
Like genuinely.
Well, you raise a good point, because, it's not... You don't go and talk to a psychologist once and you're done.
No.
It's like... And you might not go and talk to the right psychologist or the right counsellor the first time either. And it is important. That's a really great segue into finding what works for you.
Yeah.
Because, there's so many different approaches. There's so many things that can help, at any point in time. It might be talking to a professional. It might be health and wellness. It might be strengthening your relationships with the people around you. There's so many different things that can work, and it's a lifelong practice.
All right. And you're hitting it from
never ends.
One very fashionable angle.
Yeah.
Which is very good.
Funky work shirts.
Funky work shirts. All right, Dan Allen, Ed Ross, thanks very much, and really nice to talk to you.
You're
doing good stuff.
Good on you, mate. Ta.
Thanks for tuning in to Reliability Hero. Keep the world running, and we'll catch you next time. This podcast was brought to you by the Mainstream Community.